Should I go into pharma? Should I become a tenured professor? Should I go in med school? Sometimes you have these opportunities and options, and it's quite difficult to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do and go ahead and do that, commit to something. You have to have an open mind. You need to realize that maybe having those choices and that dilemma and that confusion is probably a blessing. Because that really means that you're a free person. You're free to choose. You have these opportunities in front of you, opportunities that not everybody has.
Welcome to NGBiLab, a podcast about startups in Canadian life sciences and the people and stories behind them. Hi, it's Jim Wilson, and my guest today is Shant Der Sarkissian, who is CEO and co-founder of Targa Biomedical in Montreal. Shant and his team are developing pharmacological solutions that increase the manufacturing quality and therapeutic impact of cell therapy, regenerative medicine, and opportunities for organ transplantation. In layman's terms, the team at Targa Biomedical are repairing damaged human tissue so more donor organs are available for transplant into patients in need. The research they're doing is fascinating, and I know you're going to enjoy our conversation. Before we get to today's interview, we'd like to remind our listeners this podcast is part of the NGBI podcasts in support of Next Great Big Ideas, Canada's Life Sciences Summit. NGBI is a national networking event for Canada's life sciences community and an independently organized, not-for-profit fundraising event in support of McMaster Children's Hospital in Hamilton, Ontario. You can find details on this year's summit at nextgreatbigideas.com. This episode of NGBiLab was recorded in April 2025. Our guest today is Shant Der Sarkissian, and Shant is an associate professor in the Department of Medicine at the University of Montreal and CEO and co-founder of Targa Medical. Shant, welcome to NGBiLab.
Yes, hi Jim. Glad to be here.
I'm delighted to have you, and I look forward to our conversation. You co-founded the company in January of 2018, and I'm wondering who are your co-founders?
Yeah, so it's myself and Nicolas Noiseur. He's a cardiac surgeon and transplant surgeon at the CHUM Research Center. So we developed this technology together well over 10 years prior to incorporation.
And let's talk about the technology. What is it you're focused on?
So Targa Biomedical, we have two verticals. So the company has two main sides to it. One is regenerative medicine and the other transplantation. So it's the ultimate form of regenerative medicine, right? Transplantation. So what we do is we develop novel pharmacological solutions, compounds to enhance the quality of cells, tissues, and organs for transplantation.
So the idea came out of practical experience. Could you walk me through that? How did that come about?
Yes, so maybe we can go more into history, how I ended up at the CHUM and working with Nicolas. But basically at the time when I was recruited at the CHUM, I was working on a project where I was looking for activators and inhibitors of this particular transcription factor. So it's this gene that controls expression of multiple other genes in the stress response pathway. One of the side effects, and it was a completely different project, it was in hypertension and looking to modulate that transcription factor and looking at the effect on blood pressure. But one of the side effects that I saw when I treated cell cultures with certain compounds is that these cells were much more resilient to any type of stress, either passaging cells or putting them in different types of media or conditions. So that was an observation. Now, on the lab right beside us was this young surgeon. He's still young, Nicolas Noiseur, great guy. So Nicolas, he was actually pioneering. He was doing the first Canadian experience of transplanting a particular type of stem cell, that very vasculogenic type of stem cell, into patient's heart. So he was effectively looking for a cure for heart disease, post-myocardial infarct or post-heart attack. So I was very interested. And in conversation, I asked him, so how is cell therapy going? What are the results like? He goes, listen, Shant, on paper, cell therapy is probably the holy grail. But for practical, when people do it, actually the effects are quite marginal. And that is true because in meta-analysis, so analysis of 4,000 patients, demonstrate that injecting stem cells in patient heart, you have a benefit of about 3 to 5% of increase of ejection fraction. That is the capacity of heart to pump blood. So the effect is quite marginal, 3 to 5% benefit. So I asked him, so what's the reason for that? And he told me, well, when you take cells out of their environment and you manipulate them, you expand them, you culture them, and you inject them back, you probably have less than 1% of cells that survive. So that was a click because I had seen that side effect with the compounds that I was working on, a resiliency to different stresses. So we put two and two together, and yeah, the first experiment actually we did was not even in cell therapy, but we injected some of those compounds into rats, and we performed a myocardial occlusion or a ligation of the coronary to mimic a heart attack. And we were seeing that we were preventing expansion of the infarct size, which was quite interesting and revolutionary, at least for us.
I'm wondering how many years ago that was before the idea of let's start a business around this. When did that happen?
The technology matured. We did these myocardial infarct models. Then we started working on cell therapy, optimizing cells. We also worked on lungs. So I would say it took nearly 10 years to develop, mature the technology, write the patents, write some articles, present. So there was a lot of work involved in that.
I'm assuming the impetus behind all of this research was medical knowledge. At what point did you take a step back and go, hey, there's a business here?
Well, actually, I always had in mind that I wanted to develop a business, a biotech.
Okay.
And so after my graduate studies, I had this idea. I wanted to develop a technology, first of all, and have it go to patients and commercialization. So that was my focus. And I was looking to surround myself with the right people to enable that.
And you were working out of a research hospital at the same time as teaching.
So I was at the SHIM Research Center. I was recruited. I was a coordinator initially, and then a research associate. And a couple of years later, I became associate professor, professeur associé, Department of Surgery at the University of Montreal.
Okay. And how large is your team today?
At Targa, we're a pretty small team, very lean, 4 people, and we work mainly on the regenerative medicine side. So the business model is quite different. So we work B2B. Companies send us their cell samples, and we devise these protocols and solutions to enhance the quality of their cell therapy pipelines. So that's one business side, 4 people over there. And for the transplantation part, we work through grants with the SHIM Research Center at the SHIM Hospital. And over there, we have, in fact, 3 teams, one for lung, liver, and heart transplantation. So
Okay.
those involve many other physicians, scientists, coordinators, perfusionists, research staff, students, residents.
Hi, it's Jim. When we come back, Shant explains how Targa is bridging science and commercialization and what it takes to bring research from the lab into real world application. Don't go away. I'm Jim Wilson, and you're listening to NGBiLab, Canada's Life Sciences Startup Podcast. If you're not aware, the goal of this show and our other podcasts is to promote Next Great Big Ideas, Canada's Life Sciences Summit. NGBI is an annual national networking event for Canada's life sciences community, and we invite you to join us. For details, please go to nextgreatbigideas.com. On that note, if you'd like to become a sponsor of the NGBI Summit or the NGBI podcasts, please send us an email. My contact information is included at the end of today's show, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for listening. Let's get back to our conversation. Welcome back to NGBiLab. I'm Jim Wilson, and my guest today is Shant Der Sarkissian from Targa Biomedical in Montreal. So has this company been bootstrapped since day one, or is it kind of a hybrid of academic researchers in a research hospital setting, availing yourselves of resources that are available?
So it's a spin-off of the SHIM, University of Montreal. So the company or the technology was matured and developed with over $6 million in financing or funding from grants, foundations, and also 30% of that, well, a portion of that is through equity. So we have equity deals, and we use that capital and we leverage it to get grants and other strategics and foundations involved to help develop the technology and get it ready for commercialization.
Okay. So where are you on your journey today, and where are you going to be in a year?
Yeah, so for the lung transplantation, that's the one that we're the most advanced in. In preclinical development, we have liver and heart conditioning for transplantation coming along. So we are pretty advanced. We have developed the preclinical or large animal models demonstrating the effectiveness of our conditioning solution and rescuing marginal quality lungs. And so the R&D also for our compounds is finished. We are now talking to regulators. We're now pretty close to doing our first patients. The key thing here is financing. So I'm fundraising right now to be able to do our first patients.
And how much money is it you're looking for?
So the project in all itself, we're looking at 9 million Canadian to raise for the project. And this is for two clinical studies, but we can divide that into two portions, two clinical studies. We have already foundations and government entities willing to put money in this project. It's a very novel project with a high clinical impact, and there is a big market need. So we're looking to raise some capital to be able to leverage those other foundation and grant monies.
Okay. So your target client are hospitals. I'm assuming that you're either currently or will be in future pursuing FDA approval. And how far down that road are you?
Yes, so we're working with consultants that are helping us navigate through the regulatory environment and looking at how we position our technology. And our technology is quite particular because, yes, it is a compound, but it is used ex vivo. That means outside the body. So it's used in the context of perfusing organs outside the body. Effectively, what we do is we are targeting a specific class of organs. So in organ transplantation, you have two types of donors. You have either brain dead donors or cardiac dead donors. Now, the difference between both is in brain dead donors, these donors, they are intubated, ventilated, organs are perfused. Well, the patient is brain dead with no chance of recovery, but these organs are perfused and they're good quality. And the bulk of transplantations today, the organs are provided from these donors. Then you have another pool, the cardiac dead donors, and this is the untapped potential pool here. And this is when we say we unplug a patient or we extubate a patient. So the patient will demise, and during that time, there's malperfusion, there's a hypoxic or lack of oxygen, hypoxic injury, inflammation, cytokine storms, a bunch of things that up until this point, those organs were just thrown away in the incinerator. They were not used. So now there's a new technology that is coming up. It's ex vivo organ perfusion. So these are a large apparatus that you can take an organ, for example, a lung, and you place it in this machine. This machine will oxygenate the lung, will perfuse the lung, and you can take measurements of functionality. And that will let us know if this organ is good or not to be transplanted. So doing that, a physician saw that there were actually some organs that they were just discarding, which were actually good. So this technology in itself is saving organs and thereby saving lives. But where we come in is that our compounds are able to rescue hypoxic injured organs and quite effectively. So we created this model of donation after cardiac death in the pig, where after 2 hours of warm ischemic damage, so these lungs are in pretty bad shape, we place them in this machine, the ex vivo perfusion. We add our compound for 4 hours, we perfuse, we treat, we do all sorts of measurements. We look at transplantability criteria, we do bronchoscopies, we look at gas diffusions, so on and so forth. And we are able to rescue these organs. And now we're transplanting those in new pigs. So it's a really powerful technology. And we also have some great signals in liver rescue and heart rescue. So we're really tapping into increasing organ donation by rescuing those organs that were otherwise not used.
You're going to be saving so many lives.
Well, that is the hope. That is a wish.
So there must be other teams pursuing this. Like, do you have any competitors?
Well, there's University of Toronto. They're very strong in organ perfusion, but a technology like ours, a specific solution and compound for organ rescue, I believe that we are the first, and we need to keep this position as being first in patients and first to market.
So, what's been your biggest win so far?
Well, it's treating these organs and seeing that even after a very severe type of ischemic damage, that we're able to revert those damages. And I think that that is very encouraging. And every time that we work on a different organ or cell type, and when we see those rescues, we're more and more convinced that we have something great in our hands.
I asked earlier follow-up question that I forgot to circle back on, which was, where will you be in a year's time?
Yeah, in a year's time, I believe that Targa will do our first clinical study. That's a given. Maybe doing our second clinical study in lung rescue. By that time, we are looking to work to harmonize a protocol for US also. So we're talking with some large US hospital centers to have a strategic objective in increasing also organ donation and transplant. And of course, in our pipeline, we're coming up. So the second in line, I believe, is liver rescue. So we have a pipeline technology, and we will mature those sequentially in the coming years.
Are you still teaching at the University of Montreal?
Well, I'm professeur associate, and I teach a couple of classes a year, but my focus really is on developing research. And I do have some students that do rotations, mainly during summer, but my focus is much more on research and coordinating the teams, and also on the side, working on the company and in the regenerative medicine side.
Hi, it's Jim again. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, Shant talks about the challenges of being an academic entrepreneur, the importance of perseverance, and how success is a team sport. Stay tuned. I'm Jim Wilson, and you're listening to NGBiLab. If you're a new listener, we would like you to know that one of the goals of this podcast is to shine a light on up-and-coming startups in Canadian life sciences and the people and stories behind them. We hope you like learning about what next great big ideas are on the horizon, and if you do, we will greatly appreciate you telling your friends about us and promoting us on social. You can use the hashtags NGBiLab, NGBI Podcasts, and NGBI Summit. Thanks so much for your help. By the way, if you're a startup founder who is working on one of the next generation companies in Canadian life sciences, please reach out to us. My contact information is at the end of today's show, and we look forward to hearing from you and learning about your company. Thanks so much. Let's get back to our conversation. Being a medical researcher and trying to get a company off the ground has got difficult written all over it. How do you stay on top of everything?
Yes, I guess I can juggle many things at once. Yes, there are many moving parts and components to it. They all look separate, but together they make sense.
So you've been on this journey for 7 years, and if you could turn back the clock when you were just starting your entrepreneurial journey, is there anything that you wish you'd done differently?
That's a tough one, because I believe I'm in a good position. The timing has to be right. I've worked so hard on this and our team as well. But what I realized today is that things have to come together. It's not just a person working hard. Timing has to be right. The people have to be on board. The economic situation, the financing, the technologies surrounding what you're trying to develop have to be there. The market has to be available. So these are many things. Sometimes you just need to take a step back, take a breather, and believe that things are going to progress and go the right way.
Yeah, and serendipity plays such a huge role in everyone's daily lives. Do you think being a successful entrepreneur is about talent or timing?
Oh, both. I think the main ingredient is grit and diligence and working hard. If you don't have that, sorry guys, whoever's listening, but you don't have a chance. So it is hard work. So you need to have grit, resilience, because you will have tough times, but also you need to listen to your instincts and your gut feeling. I think that's a very important component. I can say this because it's easy to look back and look at the journey and look at those dots and draw a line. But when you're looking forward, sometimes it's difficult seeing how things are going to pan out. But hindsight is 2020.
Foresight's 50-50. I'm wondering for the younger listeners of our podcasts that may be tuning in to our conversation and contemplating perhaps following your entrepreneurial journey, do you have any advice you'd offer them?
Yes, absolutely. And I have two nephews, a 25, 23-year-old. They're in university in Ottawa. I give them some of this advice, what I'm about to say, because it's from personal experience. And at least seldom I've seen some of my friends, students, or people who know exactly what they're going to do and end up doing that. So it's low percentage numbers. At least in my experience, that's what I've seen. Many times, and it was my case also, that you come to cross in your academic life, career, and there's these options in front of you. And that can be quite unsettling because you know that the decisions that you're about to take, for instance, should I go into pharma? Should I become a tenured professor? Should I go in med school? Sometimes you have these opportunities and options, and it's quite difficult to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and go ahead and do that, commit to something. You have to have an open mind. You need to realize that maybe having those choices and that dilemma and that confusion, it's probably a blessing. Because that really means that you're a free person. You're free to choose. You have these opportunities in front of you, opportunities that not everybody has for different kind of reasons, either economic, political, or so on and so forth. Some people just don't have these opportunities. So being stuck there with many different pathways, it's actually a blessing. And in my case, when I looked at that, and frankly, my postdoc, my PI, wanted me to become a professor. I think he was molding me into becoming a PI. I felt like there was something missing over there. And then I was looking at pharma, and something was missing over there too, even medicine. So I actually created my own position. So let me just take a step back and say, I was thinking about probably becoming a tenured professor and having only the academic lab and doing research, having students. And I felt that, well, I had scientific freedom to develop anything that I wanted. And that was very attractive. But in fundamental sciences, rarely do you see any technologies or ideas going to the market or clinic. And that was missing. And I think looking at pharma, I was thinking, well, in pharma, they are working on these products and devices for the market and patients, which was very exciting, very applied technologies. But you were working for a company and you had maybe strategic or budgetary constraints that you had to work on certain things. So you didn't have that freedom that academic life can provide. So none of them really fit the bill for me. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to do both. So I'm going to invent my own technology and I'm going to take it to the market and to the patients. So in doing that, it's taking a risk because effectively you don't have tenure or you don't have the perks of pharma, but at least you're chasing a dream. And that was a sacrifice I made. I think probably you're going to see more and more profiles and candidates coming up and doing this entrepreneurial path. And I think that's really, really exciting.
Thank you for sharing that. You and I met earlier this year, last year at the Obio.
Yeah.
And when I first met you, I thought you're working on some really cool stuff. When I asked you if you'd be interested in being on the podcast, I'm sure you thought I had three eyes. But I know that there's going to be some announcements that every one of us are going to read about your company in the not too distant future. And I look forward to hearing about the successes on the horizon. And thank you so much for this. This has been a real treat.
Well, thanks a lot, Jim. My pleasure. And this is a team effort, and I'm backed by a great team. We're all on board for this mission, and ultimately, this is to save patient lives. And the impact is direct, and we're really looking forward to it.
Well, thanks so much for this.
Thank you very much.
That was Shant Der Sarkissian, who is an associate professor in the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Montreal and the CEO and co-founder of Targa Biomedical. To learn more about what Shant and his team are doing, please go to targabiomedical.com. You can also follow them on social at Targa Biomedical. If you'd like to learn about this podcast, please visit nextgreatbigideas.com. You can also follow us on social at NGBI Podcast. For details on who I am, please visit jim-wilson.ca, and you can find information about my day job team at laboccupier.com. You can also follow me on social at laboccupier. This episode of NGBI Lab was researched by Xenia Pinto and edited by No Limit Marketing. If you'd like to get in touch, email is always best. My address is jwilson@Leonard, that's LENNARD.com. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.